Mm. All right. Hey guys, it's Colleen Gallagher here for episode 99 of the Colleen Gallagher podcast. I first want to welcome you all as we are a top 1,000 global health and wellness podcast. And we are here with the intention to be a space that you can come and tune in to receive a frequency that will activate, educate, and empower you to begin living a lifestyle you love that supports you financially. If you are returning, oh, hey. And if you are brand new, welcome. Health and wellness became a passion of mine because I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer at age 14. And after 9 long years of suffering, I self-healed my body, mind, and soul. So in these episodes, I bring you my voice as well as people I meet along my journey to offer perspective, inspiration, and real life proof that when you choose to follow your dreams, you say yes to what is inside of your heart, that you will begin to create a lifestyle that is wildly impactful, fulfilling, and abundant beyond your wildest dreams. We cover topics from health and wellness, digital marketing, new age spirituality, global development, and pop culture current events as it relates to the Great Awakening. So get ready, tune in, subscribe, and make sure to leave us a review to let us know what you're loving. You can always reach out on my website, www.colleengallagher.co, to request episode topics and let us know how everything's going. And with that, I'm so excited, you guys. We haven't had an interview in a while, a conversation in a while. And so I'm super, super excited to bring you Abigail Gazda, who is a clarity coach, author of multiple books, podcaster of Hearts Unleashed, and founder of Hearts Unleashed LLC. And if you guys want to binge watch her on my podcast, the Colleen Gallagher, and go to her podcast and watch this as well. I know we've had that a few times. You guys have loved it. And so Abigail's a very, very magical person. She travels all over the world. So she definitely is like you guys with being a person of the world. She has a book club, a leadership academy, and a Hearts Unleashed membership, as well as amazing workshops and retreats. When you follow her on social media, you can join. She wants to uplift others by simply by tuning in together. She lives for that kind of magic. And I believe she really is here to activate magic, love, and just a life of abundance for all of us. So Abigail, I'm super excited to have you. Welcome to the podcast. We're going to have so much fun. And if there's anything else you want people to know about you, or just even how you got started on this journey before we kind of get into your zones of genius, which we'll talk about, which is emotional intelligence, subconscious reprogramming, self-acceptance, and unleashing the cosmic leader.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. And I just wanted to kind of reiterate what you said, like what drew me to being on here and visiting with you guys and getting to speak to your community is the frequency, sharing the magic, kind of igniting that cosmic leader within. So thank you for having me and the opportunity to share. I just want to say that it's been a years long journey in this lifetime to, again, like, remember who I am, be willing to share who I am. And I think that's probably something that I'd love to speak into today is there's a difference between like that awakening moment of who we are, remembering who we are, and then the permission to be what we recognize and remember, because we're still human. So we have to move through those phases. Yeah, go ahead.
No, this is so powerful because last night, my 8-week manifestor course, we just talked about this. So I feel like you have been like in the field. We were like preparing for you. But I'd love for you to share like, just kind of you're welcome, before we get into it, like what got you on this path? Like, was there a moment? Was there a something in time that was like, you know what, I just know I get to be better. There's a moment in time or whatever it was. So people can kind of understand that. And then we'll kind of get into your genius and magic. So everyone can be activated from you through you.
I love the way you asked it. And the beginning of the question, I had a different answer. The mid question, I had a different answer. And so that moment was divorce back in 2016. I had married my college sweetheart. And after that, I married my college sweetheart and we were together for 6 years. And after 6 months, he said, I made a mistake. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be married, and that was it. And it completely activated an unlovable story that I didn't really know I had spent most of my life compensating for. Right. And so something that I wanted to say mid question though was I always knew there was something more for me. I always have, it's like in from my third eye, there's just this memory, there's this premonition, this view of me on these stages speaking to thousands and millions of people. And it's like, it's so strong. It's been a driving factor throughout my entire life. But my life experience didn't always afford me the dream, meaning like the kind of person I knew I was, when I was young, that meant be a teacher, stand up in front of a lot of people, have a positive influence, right? So I've always been doing my best to become what I can see in my mind's eye. And every year of life, I've had exposure to what that means, to like, where's the destination or what would be the next right step for me. So I've always felt called to a really tall order. And I haven't always been really clear about that. And it was my divorce that kind of broke the structure I had mentally created, the white picket fence, the house, the marriage, the car, the career, the this, and into a bigger calling. And so I had to do a lot of healing after divorce, because what surfaced was all the reasons I didn't have, or like what was in the way of becoming the most unleashed version of myself.
Mic drop, because everyone who's in this community, I can tell you for sure, like our biggest core wound in this community is heartbreak. It's wanting, like the biggest desire in this community is wanting like to fall in love, the fairy tale, like, just whisk me away. Like that's what we all dream of and secretly crave. And we've all been through in this community, like really deep heartbreak, which is what awakened us into wherever we are in a way, because we just knew that love was meant to be real. We knew that love was meant to be present. And the story that you shared, it comes in different formations, right? Through people's different souls journey here, but you shared it just so beautifully. And what initiation occurs when we go through the breaking of a heart. And I always like to say, like a flower petal, like when it comes, like the flower petals are closed, but it has to break open so it can bloom. And so I feel the same about our heart. And so I'm just so beautiful. And I'm just super excited to dive into this. And so I think the first thing I'd want to go into, I'm going to kind of reword these, but when you're going through, let's say like a divorce, right? Or you're going through something that is an ending, and it's a monumental point in your life when you're going, okay, something in me is dying. And I truly believe that relationships, why we get so attached to them, is because people, right, activate something within us that we feel like we can't access ourselves. And so when someone dies or someone leaves our life, dying, by relationship ending, that we kind of feel like there's a part of us that won't be activated in the way that we were through that person or through that connection. So I'd like you to go into a little bit of like self-acceptance of that, because I think we all can relate to going through an experience or feeling like this is just too painful to face. So how do I even begin to maneuver this?
Oh, first off, like your question makes me so happy. And if it's okay, I have to say, like on the Hearts Unleashed podcast, I have the mortality series, because I have like episodes worth of answer for this, but I'm gonna make it real clear and concise here in this moment. But I have like breakup episodes, and because heartbreak is so universal. Like we all have some sort of experience of heartbreak, whether that be through intimate relationship or, like you said, death. Maybe that's the death of a loved one, especially if we've had a near-death experience. Like it comes in all forms, right? And you mentioned endings, and I wanted to bring to the forefront of people's consciousness the energetic ending, right? And the concept of completion, because you asked about self-acceptance. And there's an acceptance of what's so that must happen first. We mostly battle and resist and question and do the why did the heartbreak part. It's that aching, like, I can't take this. I'm so hurt. Because we've taken it either personally or we miss that person, right? Like, so when we are in the emotion, it is very challenging to move into like the lesson. And so I invite us to feel the emotion, the pain, and lean all the way in, because we dislike the pain so much that we mostly try to escape it. And in our escapism, what we resist persists. So we're elongating that pain by not acknowledging the ending. So if we can really be with the ending of a relationship and I wrote down soul contract because I wanted to remember to offer that is, you know, if we can acknowledge that, like you made it a great point, they came to grow us and we came to grow them, right? Anybody that we attract is a frequency match for us at that time. But as our frequencies rise, it's predictable that one may grow faster or we grow in those different directions. And that's what causes a split. And if someone's soul contract is complete in their lifetime, we have to be okay with that. It doesn't mean anything about us. Like none of it means anything. Nothing means anything. It's whatever. It's
Yeah.
whatever significance we assign to it. Yeah.
No, I just am reflecting on what you're saying because it is so powerful in my third book, Uncompromised Life. And I want to make sure we get the mortality episode. So when we do it, you guys can go listen to those because that's probably something I'll even go listen to even. But I feel that
Yes.
in my third book, I talk about soul contracts, and it's when you meet someone and you're meant to have an experience together. And I really do live my life this way. Like, even if it's a coach, a mentor, a friend, like, I'm like, okay, even if I know this person isn't forever, right? I know I've accepted, and this is a friendship too. Like, even if I know it's not forever, but I feel inside my heart there is an experience that's meant to be had here. And I follow that calling, I follow that guidance, I follow that movement or momentum. And so, especially with my third book, when I was so like in love with this man and then I aborted the child, and you guys know this, it was so hard to come to an acceptance of like, how did this happen to me? Like, how did this kind of horrible situation? And so it took a lot of time to accept it part of my journey and then create something beautiful. And I think how you worded this, or I feel how you worded this was just such a beautiful representation, because it is a process. Whatever you're making it mean, it doesn't have to mean that. And you can actually control the narrative. And so I want that to lead into my next question, which goes into, let's say after you've accepted something that has gone on, whether it's a love relationship passing or just, something in your moment of time where like something has to change. Whatever I'm doing now just cannot continue to go on. Something must change, something must move. How do we leverage our subconscious mind to create a new neural pathway or create a new way of thinking and accepting whatever just happened? Because I think that's so important, because we don't even realize that probably what we're not accepting is a subconscious, thing. So how do we even do this or bring that in?
So good. I love these questions. So thank you. So obviously we aren't always super tapped into our subconscious mind, right? We're out here in the world. And I like to remind people, we're looking out of our eyeballs so much that we're mostly experiencing the world and not our body. We're not always like, I think of literally rolling your eyes backwards and looking inward, training our inner ear, training our inner eye, because our subconscious is constantly communicating with us, right? Through manifestation. And I know you love talking about law of attraction and manifestation and all those rules and all the things. And we are constantly manifesting, whether we know it or not, whether we intend to or not. And so the subconscious is creating opportunities to communicate with us. So if that's a body pain, if that's a physical and external experience, it's communicating with us. So my offer, like how can we really tune into that, is shift our complaint into curiosity. Go from why me, why this, why that, to why? Why me? Why this? Why that? Because the answer, you will immediately download the answer.
Yeah.
Like, why would we break up? Because I negotiated my boundaries, because I chose somebody who wasn't compatible for me, because we're not going to go to our furthest destinations together. Like, there's really logical answers, or like really clear answers, because it's not in alignment with your highest good or his highest good or their highest good or the highest good, that you're not going to fulfill. Like, I questioned my divorce for years. It took me years to process that. And I'm very clear that I could have lived a very beautiful life. But in terms of, like, let's say destiny or what my role is in the collective, I would not have fulfilled that. And so we have to, if we turn that complaint into curiosity, why did I get fired? Why am I not making more money? Why did I lose that child? Why am I suffering from this illness? You grow through what you go through.
Mm,
Everything that happens is a gift, right? And it's a
mm,
gift and it's an opportunity. And if you really ask why, you will know why. You already know why. But we
mm.
haven't shifted away from the emotions and the feelings yet to discover why.
I have like full body chills when you said like we grow or we go through it to grow through it like that. Oh my gosh, I felt that. And
Yeah.
I feel one thing that's really important for everyone listening to is it's easy to maybe look at where Abigail and I are and think like, oh, well, they're just saying that. But there is a moment when you do stand
Mhm.
the fire. And there is a moment, like you said, like years. It was years of work for you to be able to even have a conversation like this. And I can say the same for me. I'd say through
Mhm.
abortion, it was probably about a year, right? That it really took me, I mean,
Mhm.
therapy 2 times a week, healing, into personal development, really in my
Mhm.
own space. Like I didn't really get out. And then also we were going through the pandemic. So I live in LA, which was a more intense place, to even go through that. So, I really had a lot of alone time to reflect and to go through what you said, where I would go through these navigating questions of why and how, and I have to shift the paradigm. And something that Dr. Caroline Mess says that I really, really love is she says, the craziest, I think she says stupid, but I don't know if I'd use that word, but she said the stupidest thing to ask yourself is how could that happen to me? Because you're then
Mhm.
placing yourself as better than everybody else when you are just like every other human being. And so,
Mhm.
anyway,
Mhm.
I just thought that was really powerful. And that was something that really supported me in my healing. It's like, you know what, you're right. Why would I be exempt from going through pain just because of, I'm who I am? Like we're all through that. And so that really was able to change my paradigm. And that I think it goes beautifully with everything you shared. Um, and the next thing
Mhm.
that I think it's really important to talk about when we're looking at like subconscious and acceptance and relationships is emotional intelligence. And I know this is something both you and I have worked a lot on, and it's not something that I feel like it comes just natural to the average, I don't know anyone, I should say it
Mhm.
comes natural. Even if you're super intuitive, this takes a lot of patience. This
Mhm.
takes a lot of communication. This takes a lot of understanding that what someone meant yesterday, their whole tonality, their mood, their demeanor because of a life event unbeknownst to you occurred and everything switches. I mean, this is a ever going practice. I don't even know if, the most enlightened people in the world would say that they've mastered this. I think this is a very important topic and it is a key that will unlock you to fulfilling success or leave you in just achievement based success. And so I'd love for you just to talk about how did that journey with emotional intelligence start, especially with your divorce, after your divorce, what's happened then, and like how do you really leverage it in your work as well?
Yeah. For I'm gonna keep complimenting you. It might be redundant, but like the questions are just so good. So thank you. And like I think I'm saying thank you from your audience is like it's just coming through is like, yes, this is great. Anyways, um, so the emotional intelligence, you said it so well, is like there's no mountain peak to this. It's an
Mm,
ever evolution, it's an ever process, it's a commitment, right? And I really love that you pointed out like even the most intuitive people or the most divine and cosmic, we're still human. We still have these skin bags and these feeling hearts and these thinking brains and so we have these human bodies to work with, right? And to master. And the mastery part of it is, I want to talk about transcendence in the terms of emotional intelligence, but at the same time, you're as old as you've ever been and as young as you'll ever be
mhm,
every moment of your life, right? And so when you think about that, you've never been 33 and then 34 and then 35 and I'm just talking about my age, but like think about when you're 50. I think about this for parents all the time. We are like I remember looking up at my parents thinking they should have their shit figured out. Well, they've never been the age they had with daughters the age they were.
mhm,
So we're all navigating everything new all the time. So first off, grace. Let's have
mhm,
and part of emotional intelligence is grace to the magnitude I can't fit in the English language, right? And so being able to just operate with 1,000 times more grace is going to give you more access to practicing emotional intelligence. And the other thing I wanted to say, something that forged me down this path was growing up wanting to be an educator, like a general education, public school system educator. And my eyes just being ripped open to the idea that we're not teaching, something's missing in a major way, right? And that's for a whole nother episode. So we'll just leave that one alone. But that the emotional intelligence is not something we've been offered in a really like available way. We have to forge our own path in that area. And thank goodness for the momentum of humanity, because now people like us get to step up and teach this. So it's much more of a self-education process. But or dare I say, like, it's just not set up in a structured system yet, right? And so I want to say that. And then in my own emotional intelligence journey, I think that it's something that was like embedded in me from the start, because I'm clearly fulfilling a certain role. Like, I've become clear about that because it was important to me for a long time. And I think that I noticed in my youth, I had to survive people who were emotionally irresponsible, right? Who didn't control their emotions, who didn't study themselves, who didn't do any form of inner work, therapy, like whatever. And so I saw a need, but I didn't like, especially as a young girl, I wasn't like, we need more of this. It was, I'm suffering and something's not right here. And it called me forth to, again, cause a positive impact or cause a shift, a transformation, and a change. And so it's always been very important to me. And something that I was just, again, born with, good at, was gratitude. I can always flip something on its head and find and figure out and see very quickly, like, why this is good, why this is good for me, why this is good for us, why it's good for the collective, why it would happen, shifting that why into a real why. I just have it. And I remember, I remember talking to a coach about, like, I understand gratitude. I understand love. I understand, like, all of this. And you said it, I'm very intuitive. I'm a very good coach. I have these gifts. Why am I not successful at offering my gifts? And she let me kind of flounder in my search for a minute. And she's like, can I tell you what your journey is here this round? And I'm like, yeah, sure. She's like, patience, patience. You have all these gifts and you're not willing to, like, wait your turn. For whatever reason, you got to build this and it's not instantaneous on planet Earth. You have to learn the 3D realm. And I'm like, but, and so part of the emotional intelligence, it's a whole self-study. What are my triggers? What are my needs? Who am I? Why am I? Where am I? What am I? Right. And so it's becoming incredibly curious about yourself. If you understand yourself, you understand people.
I agree.
Period.
And I wanted to
it translates.
Yes. And sorry, I wanted to highlight something you said. It was back then. I want to interrupt you because it was like, you're such a beautiful flow, but I wanted to highlight something you said that when you said that I was suffering and there was something in me that called me forward. Oh my God, like, liberate my heart and body open, please. Like, I feel like that is such a true statement, because I was just at an Education 2.0 conference, and it was actually with a lot of global policymakers, a lot of people that are high-end academia, a lot of PhD people, a lot of high-level organizational leaders of, 100 million to 200 million, a year, which is super, super awesome. And they talked about a lot of the things you're talking about, like, how do we educate now in this world? And we had even like, it was just such a cool group facilitated together. And I love what you said, because I think there's 3 really important things to emotional intelligence. It's like having the grace, having patience. I don't know if you said compassion, but there was one other word that you said that was in there that was similar to compassion. Do you know what it was? Or you don't remember?
No, but compassion is translatable. Okay. Gratitude, grace, gratitude, and patience.
There we go. Sorry, I forgot gratitude. So anyway, but those ones are, I feel like those are so important. And they really are the key to emotional intelligence, because you have to look that in a very emotionally charged world where we're overstimulated by so much, that grace is going to be required, because a lot of times people don't even know what they're feeling. So having a dialogue with them, if you know what you're feeling and having dialogue, it's like you almost have to be hyper self-aware of people who don't know what they're communicating and don't know how to communicate. And so I love that. I think gratitude is huge, because it's like, I thank you for this emotion. I thank you for letting it flow through me. I thank you for letting it come out of me. And then I also feel what you said is patience. And I think all of us who are listening here, who are aliens, who are fifth dimensional, who are whatever, we are like, Earth, you move too slow. Come on, catch up. What's going on? We're at light speed. We're over here. What was taking you so long? Oh my God, you just figured that out. Come on, we're over here.
Are we still talking?
Let's go. Yeah, like let's go. Like, come on, I'm already over here on top of the hill. You just started the hill. What do you mean? I'm going to be on the next hill. I don't have patience for this. I got other things to do. This is a lot of you on this podcast, and I can relate. And I think it's beautifully shared, because what we think of like is patience. We're like, okay, we waited 30 seconds, patience. Okay. But we have to realize that this world does move a lot slower. People sometimes require 24 hours to respond to you instead of an hour. And I like, because they don't have telepathic communication. So we like live in this other world sometimes, like a lot of us who are on this podcast, where we are constantly receiving information, but we forget there's actual human that may not even be realizing what signals are sending us. So I just love that you said that. And I think it's so beautiful, because it's so important in relationships, and relationships are everything, because, you can have, and I felt like there's probably, I shouldn't say this, but in Cabo, when I was just there in November, I rented a private yacht by myself, and it was so amazing. And everyone was like, why did you do this by yourself? And I'll never forget, the sun was going down, and I just like felt this like sense of peace as I had my champagne and my ceviche. And I just was like, wow, this is like what it really, like, you made it, Colleen, you did it. You made it. I'm so proud of myself. And then the next level was like, and now I'm so excited to have people to share it with. But it was that moment of like, I didn't want to share that moment with anyone. Like I didn't want anyone to be there, because it was just for me. But the next level was like, now I'm so excited for that. And so it does matter a lot, because the memories, you can only have so many memories of yourself and I don't want to say in soul connections you meet throughout your life, but there is something to be said when you have a relationship over years of time, over periods of time, that you can conflict resolve things, you can move through things, whatever that it is. So anyway, I think that's really important. And that kind of leads up to our next question, which is, how do we really, from emotional intelligence, and those of us who are cosmic, who are definitely not patient, how do we begin to unleash the cosmic leader and kind of mysticism, not just in our bodies, in our mind? Because I know all of us here, I know all of us are like the fairy tale, let's go. We're lost in our own mind, in our own world, and sometimes for days it can be. But how do we unleash that as a leader, cosmically, mystically in the world, so we feel like we're safe, we feel like we're being true to ourselves, and also, we can create something like a Heart Unleashed LLC or a podcast or Colleen Gallagher International?
Yes, beautiful question, because I can imagine there's a certain amount of people, a certain handful of people who have that dream and then don't seem to be covering the ground that they want to be covering. So totally understood. And that was me for a number of years. And I kind of want to go like back to that answer for a moment, which is like, this is a self-study. Know yourself, know your blocks. And I'd love to offer you'd be signing up for the growth. So, which means you'll be signing up to run into a few obstacles, but make a declaration. This is still emotional intelligence. Like, it's just totally the undercurrent, right? We make a lot of declarations based on fixing what we think is wrong, and whether that be wrong with ourselves or wrong with the world. And while there's some truth to that, there's some destiny to that. Yes. But you have to know yourself. And it's such a subtle difference between force and flow. You really have to know when you are pushing and like manipulating or controlling versus like following, flowing, offering, activating. And so I can easily want to bulldoze the education system, tear it all to shreds, and again, crusade. Yep. I think that's a good word, a good cue for people. Like, if you're crusading, you're in the ego mind, or you're in the 3D thing. And our cosmic leader has way more natural, like that's where the synchronicities get to join in. And you get to play with the magic, because we aren't gonna kick all the doors down. That's not the way to to the most ultimate success, because what we're the new paradigm that we're welcoming in is collaboration. Right? I'm being very particular not to bring in the masculine feminine difference, because I believe in the divine and the divine feminine and masculine. So there is like the man who will, he's the warrior, and not he, but the masculine energy is warrior, right? So there is some sense of like battle or whatever. There is that we must show up for a very divine calling with power. I know that my voice is cracking because this is such information that is meant to be heard, and there's resistance. So I'm going to keep talking through it.
Yes.
And that we aren't, it's not going to be in a, like the rams knocking their horns, that our collective is going to find harmony. And that's kind of what I'm trying to point to, is if you're in a crusade, you're in the wrong battle. If you're trying to take someone down, you're in the wrong battle. Like evil cannot prevail. It will fall apart. It will be dismantled by the laws of nature. So if you can activate and unleash the good in you all the time and lead with love and collaboration, yes, there's shadow. Yes, you're going, like, there's that tough love. There's all of that. But you're not going to have to defeat anybody by rising and rising and rising and rising. It can't come with you. Those lower order frequencies can't come to the place we're carrying humanity to. And so if you activate that love leader, you will be the totality of who you are. And that includes the darkness or the shadow, but you're so tapped in and integrated that it doesn't occur as shadow or evil or dark. If that I think I am assuming it makes perfect sense to like, especially people's souls.
Yeah, no, I think too, I'll say for those of you who are, what we're sharing, but you're kind of newer to the work. So your shadow would be the parts of you that you feel like you're too embarrassed to own. So for me, let's say that'd be something like having anxiety. I'm a professional procrastinator. It is what it is. Those are, but I've owned them. So they're not so much a shadow, but let's say to this world standard, to the 3D world, like they'd be like, you can't procrastinate, do all these things to change it. Where I'm like, no, that's just how I am. It's like part of my creative force. It's what gets me riled up. It's what gets me going. Maybe one day it'll change, and I have like different systems, so we've changed it differently, but like that would be some examples of a very basic shadow self,
Yeah.
And I love what you shared, because once you have this as a cosmic leader, you have to look at, okay, these are the moments, these are the things that are going to allow me to rise into the cosmos, because without the dark sky, without blackness, right, the stars wouldn't shine. So you want to look in your own life where that's happening and how to do this. And I love what you said, because yes, in this community, we're very balanced, as you know, that we have people who are very masculine, people who are very feminine. We have a balancing there. We don't have a leaning edge towards one, even though we have, 60% men, 40% women. And so I think it's really important what you said, is that we begin just to look at ourselves as a whole being of what is going to make us feel like we can lead our own life, and not in this strategy driven way of you must do this, tend to make this happen, but in a way that our feelings are guiding us, our intuition is guiding us. We're in a constant state of receiving, and then from that place of receptivity, then taking the action instead of acting, receive, act, receive. And so I think you said it beautifully, and that's just kind of a decoding of some of the languages for those of you who maybe you're in the bridge of crossing over.
Yeah. Can I add like one, because this was my own growth edge as far as like shadow. And I think that collectively this gets to come. And I wanted to say, what comes up wants to come out. So when we make a declaration towards a destiny or any sort of destination, what's going to come up is the reasons we're not already at that destination. And so it's coming up it's from the subconscious to say, hey, I need to go if you plan on going there, because I can't come with you to that destination. And for me, the shadow work was, and I think again, collectively, it's there for some of us. Part of my shadow was, I am a highly sexual being.
Mm.
And our sex energy is our creative energy. So I'm a
Mhm.
highly creative being, but it also is channeled through like literal sexual, like arousal or
Mhm.
sex or whatever. And it was very misguided in my younger
Mm.
years. And so, but as I started to heal my feminine and masculine, as I started to heal my whole self, that
Mm.
didn't make me less sexual. I started to harness and channel it differently. And part of that is like for me, I love being nude. I love my
Mm.
body, right? Like all of that. And the shadow side of that was I had these fears and concerns, especially growing up and being a teacher. Like that's really inappropriate to be sexual because I am like, part of my sexuality is I am magnetic. I am
Mm.
energetically attractive. People don't know why they're attracted to me, but it's that
Yeah.
natural energy, right? And and so, but I made it mean I am lustful, perverted, like the vixen energy, and it's not that. And so it's really from like I had to be with it myself, and I had to dive into, am I a pervert? Am I sick and twisted? Like I had to understand like my kinks or my bisexuality, like and explore that, and then like really learn to love myself and explore all those avenues because I found out I'm not those negative narratives. And
Mm.
I integrated them by accepting them, by pulling them in
Mm.
and realizing, okay, I'm good here, right? And so that shadow work is like turn and face. I love the way you said it so clear. It's the part of ourselves we're embarrassed about. If we
Mhm.
look at those parts, we have nothing to be embarrassed about.
Yeah. And I love that you shared that so openly because I know a lot of people in this community, they also
Yeah.
are very sexual creative beings, but they haven't really been able to speak about it because of the corporate career or like you said, whatever it is. So that is so important. And I definitely feel that when you do become a cosmic leader, it is an energy you can't deny. Even in my course yesterday, I was saying, we all have, even though women, yes, we bleed on our moon cycles, men still have a cycle, whether that's make you
Yeah.
more angry or you're a little more on edge, like it's the same. But you want to look at like when that aligns with the moon, right? Because there's a certain thing that tells you if you're more feminine or masculine, how balanced you're living in your life. And so I love what you shared because I know that these are really key pillars, and I love the way we did it as well as like when going through acceptance to subconscious to emotional intelligence to unleashing the cosmic leader and mysticism, because you can't really get to the unleashing of the cosmic and mysticism without the other elements. Like it is a process, it is a journey, it is
Mm.
something that it doesn't happen at the flick of a switch. But once you do it, it just like anything else, it becomes an automated habit. Like you all talk
Mhm.
about like automation now, like automated. It is like you do this like habit instead of like, oh, this takes so much work and the journal and I have to claim and I have to da-da-da. Like it doesn't take that long anymore because your body and your cellular memory is now integrated with the cosmic system. So you can have a thought, you can have a thing, and it would just align for you.
Mm.
And that's why it's so important to do this work and practice it because it does happen quicker, faster, stronger, more fun, more beautiful, more mess, like, or more magical, more miracles, like all those things.
Yes.
So yeah, so I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to share or in closing or anything else you'd like them to know. And then obviously let everyone know where to find you. We're going to have all of the links on every post in social media and also in the bio or in the show notes.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I just wanted to put a bow on that
Yeah.
question, that last question and statement is I was thinking of you being on your yacht, right?
Mhm.
And when I spent 2 months in Costa Rica by myself, and people, every time I went to a restaurant, every time I went everywhere, sola, 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 yeah,
Mhm.
sola, by myself, I'm
Mhm.
having a great time, and because the awakening and unleashing the cosmic leader within would require radical self-love.
Mm. Yeah.
Self-love that is in the current paradigm that we're dismantling, that kind of self-love is being called selfish or ego or egocentric, and it's not. To love yourself so fully, to be willing to be seen in your greatest light feels risky, feels vulnerable, feels like you might face rejection, and you might.
Mm.
But you're also, when people see you loving and being yourself unconditionally, no matter what the conditions are outside of you, when they see that, they are inherently granted permission
Mm.
to do that too. So you don't have to lift a finger to transform this world.
Mm.
Be yourself so wholly that others want that too.
Mm. I love that. And it makes me just so happy and fulfilled. And I agree. I agree with that. And that is a huge key to liberate yourself in
Yeah.
cosmic leadership and mysticism.
Yeah.
So yay. Okay. Well,
Thank
is there
you.
anything else just in conclusion with
No,
everything, or that was
no,
okay?
just the logistics, right? AbigailGazda.com,
Okay.
Instagram. Like, actually, I just want to say Instagram is my love language. So come hang out with me there. It's my favorite place to be.
I know. And I did tag you this morning. So everyone listening, go watch them.
Me
I'm sure we'll
too.
tag you this week. So, um,
Perfect.
everyone make sure to go do it. But I love that. Instagram is my love language. I should start saying that too. I love that. So,
Awesome.
well, perfect. Well, I love you so much. And I'm so
Yes.
grateful for your presence and your energy. And I honor your journey. I know that going through so many of these things, it's not an easy choice always to be like, I was suffering and I was called forth, and to do it consistently with precision, with action. And I just love so beautifully that you have the Hearts Unleashed brand and everything with it. So make sure you guys go check Abigail out. Definitely follow her on Instagram. And definitely, go subscribe to her podcast, you guys. I know you guys love it, and, binge watch us, and then go to hers and binge watch us as well. It'll make you so happy. So, I love you all. Thank you so much for being part of this collective community. I cannot wait to get to hug you guys in the physical, and I will see you so soon.